Welcome back. There seems no end to the misery caused by the floods in Assam. And although there is a marginal decline in the water levels in some parts of the state, the river Brahmaputra and its tributaries are still flowing well above the danger level. Now, wildlife in Assam has also taken a massive beating. The famed one-horned rhinoceros, which is endangered, and its only home is the Kaziranga National Park. And several other animals have been lost in the floods. Several parts of the Manas National Park, the Pobitora Wildlife Sanctuary, are submerged, forcing wild animals to take refuge in artificial highlands constructed within the parks. At the submerged Kaziranga National Park, officials are trying their level best to save the endangered animals. As you can see on your screen, they're actually rescuing wildlife. They're making sure that they get the veterinary attention that this wildlife, that the animals require, and then releasing them into drier parts of the park to make sure they're okay. Now, one of the biggest problems that occur in a flood like this one is that the pups or the cubs or the calves get separated from the rest of their families. So baby rhinos, baby elephants who've been separated from their mothers are being rescued, washed, fed, and reunited with their families. Also, vultures are being saved and released, and the worst hit of all are, of course, what they call the hog deer, the smallest deer in the park that would get submerged first because it's the shortest. Some short people will understand what that feels like. One interesting story that emerged yesterday in Assam was a Faye tigress who, in order to find a dry spot to sit down, actually entered a shop and sat down on a bed. The volunteers and the vets actually found safe passage by closing off the highways, and they managed to get that tiger released into the wild. That tiger is safe and sound. Remember the visual that you saw yesterday on social media of a tiger who had settled in the back of a shop, has been released back into the forest. She is safe and sound.
वो गंदे का बच्चा बागोरी रेंज से रेस्क्यू करके लाया हुआ है। अभी हम लोग इधर स्टेबलाइजेशन रूम में रखा हुआ है। ट्रीटमेंट करने के बाद हम लोग कोशिश करेंगे उसको ट्रीटमेंट करने के बाद बड़ा करने के बाद किसी जंगल में छोड़ने के लिए। तो अभी कम हो रहा है, तो कम होने के बाद भी जानवर निकल जाता है डिस्ट्रेस कंडीशन में। तो हम लोग का जितना भी टीम है उन लोग मूव कर रहा है इधर उधर। कहीं पे जानवर पड़ा हुआ है, किसी का कुछ प्रॉब्लम है, ये सब हम लोग गाँव वाले लोग के बीच का अंदर में भी जाके खबर लिया है।
We aimed to get some of the heroes of Assam and the heroes of the wildlife in Assam on the channel, but we couldn't because obviously connectivity issues at that point. But on your screen right now are possibilities of how you can help if you want to. If you feel strongly, you can donate to the Wildlife Trust of India that's currently saving animals in Kaziranga. If you want to donate to the people of Assam, then of course there's the Chief Minister's Relief Fund that you can donate to. And if you want to help in any other way, get in touch with us and we'll put you in touch with someone who will tell you how you can help out the animals and the people of Assam who need your help. So moving on to our next story. Amid uproar in Parliament, the RTI Amendment Bill has been introduced in Lok Sabha. The amendment will give the central government the power to decide the tenure and the compensation for Information Commissioners, State and Centre. The activists right now are up in arms about this bill because they claim it will take away the independence of the Information Commissioner, and that effectively will take away the power that the RTI Act actually has given citizens. Remember, a lot of very, very important information has been accessed by journalists, activists, and thereby by citizens through the RTI Act since it came into force. It's very, very important. The opposition has questioned the bill, saying that the amendment will render the right to information effectively toothless. Joining me on the conversation right now, Mr. Shailesh Gandhi, former Chief Information Officer, current RTI activist. We also have Bhaskar Ghosh of the BJP. Mr. Gandhi, you've actually put out a note on why this particular amendment makes you uncomfortable. Now, some people would say that, and this was the argument put forward by the government in the parliament as well, it's just a way to make it more streamlined. Do you not buy that argument?
I think if they demote the president and the governors and all the ministers, everything will get streamlined by this logic.
Yes. Because one of the problems, it's not just the fact that they will control the pay, and decide the pay of information commissioners, they've also demoted them in the larger structure.
That is precisely what they want to do. They are not saying. In fact, they've said we'll decide. What we decide is we are kings.
We're allowed to decide whatever we want.
Whatever we want. They've not even taken the trouble of saying, look, this is what we are proposing. We'll decide. For the states and the center, we know best. And what is worrying is the only reason given in the bill is that these are statutory authorities, not constitutional authorities, whereas the Election Commission and the Supreme Court judges are constitutional authorities. The NGT chairman is also a statutory authority. NHRC is also a statutory authority, and there are lots of such other commissions, which are all statutory authorities, and there has been no problem in treating them on equivalence with the Election Commission.
So explain to our audience this, and I think this is the key bit. Why is this dangerous? And that's the right word to use. This is dangerous at this point. Why are these changes dangerous?
Because A, there is no reason, plausible reason that's been given by the government
to make the change.
Therefore, the only implication is that the government is annoyed with the decisions being given by the commission. Few, there are not very many, there should be far more. But the few independent decisions have rubbed the government the wrong way, and they are effectively saying, now I'll teach you. And this is arrogance, which is not good for a democracy. The earlier government also, in all fairness, had made 3 attempts to amend the law. The first attempt was in less than a year.
By earlier government, you mean India
the
1?
Congress. The Congress.
Oh, you mean UPA, yes.
The UPA. Okay. The earlier government, I mean the UPA.
Yes.
So thrice they had launched these amendments, which would have finished the act.
Yes.
But every time they listened to people. Here, there's been no pre-consultation with citizens. I was on another show where the BJP spokesperson was saying there have been consultations with whom nobody seems to know, unless it's closed-door consultation.
Which is not a consultation then.
Therefore, why are they not coming up front and giving their reasons and discussing with people and saying, look, this is the reason. There is no reason except wanting to degrade the RTI, weaken the RTI. That's the only purpose.
So the RTI per se right now gives citizens access to any official information inside of the government.
Except what is exempted under the law.
Security, for national security and a couple of other things. There's a list of exemptions.
There's a list of it.
And and all governments, state and centre, have always seen that as a nuisance, because effectively what it does is bust corruption. And you're saying this is a way to basically take the teeth out of the act. One step to
the corrupt dislike it for obvious reasons. The honest in power are usually arrogant enough to believe, why in the world should I be transparent?
Yes. So, who are you to ask me?
Who are you to ask me?
Okay.
Whereas RTI establishes the sovereignty of the individual citizen. This is extremely important. It is a way of converting our elective, defective democracy into a truly participatory democracy.
We must also point out here, according to the RTI Act, the Information Commissioner is not allowed to have any other profession or any other income.
No.
So to have the government, who he has to make decisions against in some cases, decide how much he or she will get paid, doesn't make any sense.
They are trying to make it another caged parrot.
Yes.
As it is, the process is such of selection of most commissions in the country is opaque, which is not a very good sign. Instead of moving towards greater transparency, they are saying we'll make the Transparency Commission itself lower, so that, and government is hierarchical.
Would you at this point basically be saying that all of the citizens right now who'd be tweet happy or social media happy should be talking about this? This is the biggest concern?
This is a big threat to democracy. We have a chance of converting our democracy into a participatory democracy with the RTI Act, and it's well on the way. But there are very serious threats, and this is one of the very serious threats, social media and everywhere. I think if citizens show adequate displeasure, I'm guessing the government will retract, and that will be a very good sign. It will be a very good sign. It's not a matter of somebody winning against the others. Where the citizen wins, the nation wins.
Yes. We have Mr. Bhaskar Ghosh of the BJP who joins us right now. Mr. Ghosh, what is the response to the questions raised, very valid questions being raised by Mr. Shailesh Gandhi? Why would the government possibly want to bring these amendments into the RTI Act?
Faye, I just want to be very precise and very to the point answer. Let me read it out that at the time of the finalizing of the RTI Act, the Standing Committee had noted the Information Commission is an important creation under the Act which will execute the laudable scheme of the legislation, and it should therefore be ensured that it function with utmost independence and autonomy. So further recommendation has come from Standing Committee that to achieve this objective, it would be desirable to confer on the Central Chief Information Commissioner and Information Commissioners status of the Chief Election Commissioner and Election Commissioners respectively. So it is not that it has not been discussed. It is sent to the Standing Committee, and the Standing Committee has very precisely noted their observation and finally recommended that they should be given. Number one. Number two, if the government decides, being a statutory body, their salaries, their promotions, their other benefits and all, what's wrong in it? Because
but Mr. Gandhi just explained what's wrong.
Sorry.
No,
they
and
will be
he's
more
quoting
responsible.
and supporting what I'm saying, that this was the Standing Committee recommendations which is in the law.
Yes.
I don't know what he's saying.
Mr. Ghosh, I'll ask you a more simple question. Is the government trying
No, that's
to
what I'm telling,
neuter
that
the
whatever
RTI
Standing
Act?
Committee recommendation has been given to them. So why you are objecting it, Mr. Gandhi?
Because
why
you're
you
not
objecting
following
it?
this,
You're not
following the
following
Standing Commission, the committee recommendations. You're doing the exact opposite. Mr. Ghosh.
Mr. Ghosh, you are not understanding the issue.
Well, Mr. Ghosh, let me ask you a more simple question. Is the government of India at this point, along in the nice little line you've made of the CBI, of the NIA, of SEBI now, of the RBI, do you want to also add the Information Commission and the RTI? Basically, what you want to do is basically neuter everybody so they do your bidding. Is that what's really going on here?
No, first of all, they are not supposed to be playing at the hands of the government. Government ensures their promotions, their salaries,
There's
and
no
everything,
promotion,
parks and
Mr.
everything,
Ghosh.
in order to give them the status which has been. Yep, even promotion, of course. The promotion does not go as a
Mr.
whimsical
Ghosh,
fancy of
Mr.
single
Ghosh,
person.
the Information Commissioner cannot get promoted. What you've done is demoted all of them from what they had, which was a Supreme Court judge status, down further to less than a High Court judge status.
We don't know.
We don't know what it is.
We don't know.
It's just
it
not
could be
a
an
Supreme
undersecretary level.
So you've demoted them. What you've done effectively is you've taken the carpet out from under the democracy's feet, where you have said that this person who has to make decisions against the government in an independent manner will be paid by the government, and that person's power and pay will be decided by the government of India. How is this democratic? And why would you do this without consulting the people? The people are the custodians of democracy in this country. Are you taking us for granted?
Faye, that is my point.
What is your point? I don't understand your point.
That is my point. That is my point. How you are by default accepting that government will influence their functionaries.
Because if you
Government
decide to pay them, you will. If you get to decide how much they get paid or not, you will influence their functioning. Let me remind you of the history of this government for the last 2 years.
No,
the Supreme Court complained of government interference. The CBI complained of government interference. The RBI complained of government interference. And yesterday, the securities regulator, SEBI, complained of government interference. And now we have the RTI. The evidence is not good in your favor, Mr. Ghosh. Now, please tell me, why are you taking away the power of the citizens? Why would you do this? There is no possible justification.
Why you are terminating as an interference?
How is this not interference?
Mr. Ghosh, what is the purpose of this?
That is, let me understand.
What is the purpose?
What is the purpose? Please explain to us. I am not able to understand what the purpose of this government is in bringing this amendment. We have one of the best laws.
The
citizens are happy. Everybody is happy.
Very
So
simple
right
and
now,
clear, in order to make them function in the interest of the public,
and they're not
as per
functioning
the
in the interest
demand and requirements of the RTI Act.
No, how does this make them function in the interest of the public?
Government.
Mr. Ghosh, I'm going to ask Mr. Gandhi a couple of more questions. I will also give you a couple of minutes to do some homework because you haven't done any, obviously. Mr. Gandhi, who currently decides the pay of the Information Commissioner?
That's decided by the law.
Yes.
It is equivalent to the election commissioner.
Yes.
And therefore, whatever the election commissioner, which is equivalent to the Supreme Court judge, becomes. And that is not such a crucial issue.
Yes.
The issue is trying to demote them, to discredit them, to ensure that their orders will not be followed. As it is, information commissioners have a tough time getting their orders followed.
Yes.
And the government is a hierarchy.
As we saw,
to
the
government.
RBI flout the Information Commission's order several times over the last 1 year. Yes.
Very true. In fact, a contempt petition was filed which the Supreme Court said, we'll warn you. And now they seem to be having some view of listening to this. But more importantly, the minister seems to be advised wrongly. In the parliament today, he said that the decisions of the commission are appealed before the High Court. Therefore, how can they be higher than the High Court?
Yes.
What he forgot is Section 23 of the law says no appeal lies outside the commission.
Yes.
Therefore, when somebody goes to High Court, he goes in what's called writ jurisdiction. In writ jurisdiction, even the President of India's orders are challenged.
Yes.
In a High Court.
So that's not reason enough to be able to do this. And
Then-
just to
then
explain,
governors, everybody will be
So let me just
demoted.
explain this to our audience one more time. Basically, under the RTI, anyone in this country, any citizen can write to any government office and ask for information. So you can write to a government office and say, you spent or you've allotted X amount of money to build, let's for argument's sake, say a statue. I want to know how much of that money has been paid and to whom it has been paid. They have to, by law, share that information with you within the span of 1 month. Now, in a lot of cases, what happens is that the government or the officer or the government office in question writes a vague letter denying you that information, saying that we can't share this to you for XYZ reason, and those XYZ reasons don't normally always hold. That is when the citizen, you and me, can go to the Information Commissioner and say, listen, I sent this out, I haven't got the information, can you do something? The Information Commissioner can instruct, it's within his power to instruct anyone from the smallest office to the Prime Minister's office to say you have to comply and you have to share this information. Is that correct?
Absolutely correct. And this is recognizing the fact that government belongs to citizens.
Yes.
This is actual, we talk about it in large terms. We call this a democracy. But this is actual recognition that you as the citizen own the government and therefore every information with the government belongs to you, barring some exemptions which are there in the law.
And so by that yardstick, if that Information Commissioner is now under the thumb of the government, he will have trouble making those decisions and passing those orders.
That's right.
Or he will have to do it at great personal discomfort.
It's unlikely. You see,
Yes.
they've said tenure we'll fix. They could make it a 1-year tenure.
So they could just transfer the person if they
No,
feel
they can't transfer him.
It would
I
just
mean,
fire him.
unless they change the law further.
Yes, yes. And they haven't said that okay, now the tenure is 4 years or it's 5 years.
They're not
just
saying
leaving it-
anything.
Yes.
Theoretically, they could say, we can have you like a contract labor. We'll give you a tenure for 1 year. If you are good,
Then we will
don't give us
extend.
orders which we don't like, we'll keep insisting that we'll increase it. They've said nothing.
Mr. Ghosh, did you find my explanation helpful? Do you have a better answer for us
Judges,
now?
then the tenure should be fixed also.
By Mr. Ghosh, it's the government of India that's refusing to fix the tenure. That wants to
agree
make
it's
those
wrong?
changes. Do you agree that that is a wrong thing?
No, that there is 2 points. There is 2 points.
Are they
There
really?
is 2 points. The Information Commissioner has to function as per the RTI Act. They cannot function on an suo motu basis.
Okay.
Number
What is the
two,
amendment doing?
Their pay scale and everything will be governed by the pay commissions.
All right. This might not be the most conducive conversation, but I'm just going to give one word to Mr. Shailesh Gandhi. Mr. Gandhi, if you want to use this platform right now to appeal to citizens for the urgency or the gravity of the matter, I'll allow you to do that.
Democracy is at stake. We need to speak up. On social media and everywhere, earlier government also tried it thrice, we pushed it back. This government also before, in the first term, tried to put this, but they held back because of citizen opposition. Citizens must create a furor across the nation. It is a matter of democracy. You must defend your democracy and your democratic right, and this is a fundamental right under Article 19(1)(a). If we do not speak up, we will lose this fundamental right. We were able to throw the British out of this nation. We should manage to defend our fundamental right. We cannot let it go by like this.
Very well said. So basically, it points down to this. The RTI Act gives the citizen power over information of where your money is going, who it's being spent on, and how every single office within government is functioning. That information is your right as a citizen of this country. When that right is denied to you, you appeal to the Information Commissioner. The Information Commissioner has the power to instruct any office in this country, any office at all, to comply and give information to the citizen. It is that Information Commissioner right now that this amendment is trying to belittle. It is taking away their security of their job, of the pay, of their status within government. And the status within government is the most important thing, because when you take that away, nobody will follow the orders because it's coming from too small an officer. What the government is effectively doing is taking away our constitutional right to the information within government. As citizens, if there was ever a time to voice our opinion and rise up against something government was doing, this would be it. Use whatever power you have to raise your voice, to read about this, to understand what's happening in that particular bill and why it is wrong. I appeal to all citizens, don't listen to us, do the reading, understand what's going on, and make up your mind on whether or not this is a good thing.